What's up, everybody? Fearing here, and we are back at it for the first time in a while here with a Siege video. Couple of updates on my account first. We got two cool new things. First of all, I pulled another LD5. We got Alexandra here. Not really my typical RTA style or like a very insane Siege mon or anything, but after getting Narsha like a month ago, and then just pulling a random scroll off of getting LD pieces from Guild Shop or something. It was pretty wild to get this, pretty good RTA countermon for Cleave, and overall something that I'll enjoy playing with in the future. Maybe we'll try and work it into a Siege offense on a lower intensity Siege, but we'll see about that one. She's still also on my backlist for Devil Mons, since I have so many Siege defense Mons and other things that got changed in the balance patch that I'm looking to try out. First. Second, with the new season, I have not been yet posting new videos because we've been concentrating on not inting and we joined a new guild. So I'm on an offensive trial with Mithril. Joined at the beginning of the season. We're about 5 sieges into the time of recording this video, and going back, and I'm going to be posting some of the offenses from the earlier sieges that we did. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our first Siege video with the new guild. All right, we are going straight into it here. We pulled Malicious and Osi for this Siege. I think we're going to end up doing a 1v1 versus Mali. So we're going to hit, I think, all 10 of our attacks into Mali. First, we're going to be going into this Khmun, Suiki, and Betta with the Khmun, Lorna, Lucia. This is really one of the first things that I'd kind of thought of and tested a little bit as we went further through the Siege and played against this more. I'm not sure if this is necessarily the best comp. It still feels decently safe. But when you're playing against Mali, you want to make sure that you have the best comps and the best urns and everything, because these defenses are pretty cracked. A couple things that we noticed when fighting into this that were interesting was that there was definitely variance in the Betta builds. With the Khmun, there is a risk at a swift Betta, so any sort of cleave could potentially get the anti-crit up with her high base speed, and cleave you out from there, and block your cleave. Second, there were a lot of 100 res Khmuns and 100 res Suikis. So something like this where you're relying on both the Lucia. The irresistible S3 is really nice, but the skill 1 freezes. You wanted to make sure that you had high accuracy on this because you would just not be hitting any of these units. And then lastly, there was variance in the Suiki builds from res, not res, and then also some of them were on destroy and some of them were on revenge. So revenge Suiki is particularly scary because he has a defense break on skill 1, so any comp that you take in and you're hitting that Suiki not last, he can potentially change the AI, go into something that is not very tanky, and then have a defense break for the Khmun to move into. So for this Khmun, Lorna, Lucia, I ended up leaving the Suiki for last. Even with max accuracy, or I think I was like 79 accuracy on the Lucia, we were still getting resisted quite a bit. The bigger worry here actually was that I was not anywhere near max accuracy with the Khmun, so we didn't have good heal blocks. So again, with that skill 1 revenge potentially from the Suiki healing as well, we're really relying here on the Lucia and the Lorn to be controlling and heal blocking the Suiki. So there we go. This was a revenge Suiki. But again, we killed the Betta twice, or we killed the Betta so that she wouldn't res anyone, so we didn't have to kill anyone twice. Then we killed the Khmun, and then we left the Suiki for last just because we were a little bit worried about that revenge retargeting with the Khmun damage. Next, we're going to go into, they had a couple of these defenses with Miles and Louise, and then this was a different one with a Kinki. I'm not too convinced that this is something entirely serious. Sorry if you're Mali and you're watching this and you're like, oh, this is our best defense idea ever. But I think anything with Louise, she just doesn't do a ton. And I think she makes this defense pretty much bulwark food. So my idea here is that even if the Ken is super high damage, a Windy will 100% nullify him. The buffs from the Louise will let bulwark just chew through and do enough damage here. There's not a ton of sustain, since every time the Louise heals, it's also giving me 5 stacks. And then we have shields from both the Woosa and the Windy, which make it so that it's pretty easy to not allow the Kinki to self-sustain. So here we're just thinking, if we kill the Kinki, nothing else in this defense really does anything to us. Even if it's a super high damage Ken again. We have shields, we have immunity, we have big HP leader skill from the Bulwark. I don't think we're too worried here. We also got pretty lucky at the beginning of this where the Louise derped and didn't skill 3 the first turn. So I got 2 5-stack Bulwarks back to back. We finish off the Kinki there, and I won't make you watch us killing off the Ken, but again, pretty safe, pretty easy second win here in the bag. Next, we're going to go into the same 4-star defense again. One thing that you'll notice is that into this defense, taking the Khmun Lorn Lucia, something I think is always interesting is thinking about the different variants and different builds that you can have on these units. The turn 1 potential from this defense is decently limited, but there is a chance that Suiki defense breaks something and then procs or Khmun procs, and that leads into someone getting low. And that person is only going to be Khmun, right? There's no way that you're going to have intense burst being targeted on anything except for the Khmun. So heavy minus water on the Khmun, and potential actually in retrospect, I wonder if Will on the Khmun here would have been a good choice. I don't think there was any need for Will on the Lucia or the Lorn, because again, the only way that they're going to get targeted is if they hit into the Suiki and it revenges. I mean, not including the Khmun can hit the Lorn, but it's not going to be enough damage to burst anything in the first couple of turns. So I think that getting more stats or other offsets on these 2 units, the Lucia and the Lorn, are going to be the play, right? And potentially even going, like I said, Will offset on the Khmun. You're so used to seeing Destroy on it, but really this team, if you're going to be killing the Betta first, there's not some huge need for the Destroy set. You're just going to kill things through damage eventually anyways. So we end up killing the Betta there. There was a point where I was like a little bit scared for this Khmun. I think once the Betta goes down, there's actually a pretty good 2v2 potential for Lorn and Lucia to 2v2 the other 2 members. But again, here we're just playing it super safe. I think we push back the Suiki here because again, we're just worried about potentially some procs killing off our Khmun. We're going to keep using the skill 2 freeze, or the skill 3 sleep on the Suiki and finish off this Khmun. And then we're going to have a second one here in the bag. But you notice when I showed the runes at the beginning, the Lorn actually I put on energy. It was just good offset runes that gave her a little bit more stats. Whenever I run this Khmun Lorn Lucia, I find it incredibly helpful if you run the higher, the 289 or the 286 tick on both the Lorn and the Lucia. It allows you to just get more turns in and have more consistency in your lockdown. So again, that offset or even just broken runes, I think much more valuable on these 2 units than the Will, because there's no really like turn 1 potential. And again, the Suiki getting some good procs in. I think we noticed that this was actually destroyed because we're pretty far destroyed. But a little too late, and we're able to take out this defense for the second time. We're going to hit into another one of these defenses that we saw in the Siege Turn 8 from Mali with the Woosa, Savannah, and Kinki. We're bringing in a Tessa Leo and a Cha-Cha. The idea here is we are just going to kill through the immunity on the Savannah first with the Oblivion from the Tessa and the negation of Savannah damage with the Leo. We're going to hope that our skill 3 here strips, and it does, and we even get the defense break, pass back. I think even if you don't get the strip, you're able to tank this out pretty well. Again, you have damage reduction from the Leo on the Savannah. The Kinki is not too big of a threat because you have the Cha-Cha to tank it. The only worry is just that you want to make sure that while the Savannah is still in the field, that you have the cleanse available to stop the Savannah AoE defense break from retargeting your other units. And here we're going to fish for an Oblivion into this Kinki. I think I hit this a second time a little later and I got unlucky with this, but I think we really want to be killing the Woosa second here. It's nice to get an Oblivion and be able to take out this Kinki next, but the problem is just that if this Kinki has any amount of accuracy, we do have the res lead with the Tessa, but if it revenges and defense breaks my Tessa, we're pretty scared here because the Woosa skill 2 can do some good damage, some Kinki procs can do some good damage, and my Tessa is pretty tanky, but I think that if we retarget off the Cha-Cha and get a couple of unlucky procs, then we can lose this. And there we go. We finally take down this Woosa after it sleeps my Tessa for the 18th time. And we take out this 5-star tower for our next win. We're going to go into this Nana Nora Fuuki with this Tractor Lala Tessa. The main idea here is you have the Lala to sustain through the Nora. Basically, if the Nora ever goes crazy and gets a bunch of dots on your team, you have that skill 3 to kind of recover. We have a Tractor to tank out the Fuuki and give us some damage and stuns, and then we have Tasarian to Oblivion the Fuuki so that he does a lot less damage, and potentially even Oblivion the Nana as well to make this fight go a little faster. You can see they got some good stuns at the front here, and actually got my team decently low, but we're able to recover with that skill 3 from the Lala. We get the Kinki down to 1 hit left, but we don't have our Oblivion yet on the Nana, so we're kind of debating between, do we leave up that Oblivion so the Fuuki doesn't do any extra damage, or do we try and wait and get a Oblivion on the Nana? I think I decide here, you know, let's just take it out, but we don't quite get the kill. The Tessa moves, we're able to get the Oblivion up, and then the Revenge from the Tractor takes out the Fuuki. I think this in my head seemed really safe. It ended up playing out a little closer than I would have liked to. I think there was some decent kill potential into the Lala, even though it was, you know, pretty tanky. The combination of Despair stuns from either the Nana or the Nora, or Vile procs. I think this was a damaged Nana, and getting that unit defense broken ended up getting my Lala, I think, to like half HP at some point. So a couple more procs definitely could have been a bit more awkward. But we're able to push through it. We get that Fuuki down. We're going to have another Oblivion here to finish off the Nana, and then 3 versus 1, we're going to be able to clean up that unit. We're going to go again with this same Leo Tessa Cha-Cha into the Woosa Savannah Kinki. So same strategy here. We're going to try and kill the Savannah first, and then get an Oblivion on the Kinki and finish off that unit. Preferably, I think, kill the Woosa first so that we don't have that Oblivion, or that we don't have that immunity on the Kinki and extra healing and shields. I think I'm debating here between trying to go for the strip on the Cha-Cha versus taking that defense break off of the Tessa. But my Tessa here is pretty tanky, so we're not super worried about that. And we get a nice proc, and we just immediately take out the Savannah. I think some point in here, I actually re-ruined this comp. I changed the runes between the 2 attacks. The first time I had a damage Leo and a pretty decently high damage Tasarian. I moved this attack to have a tankier Tessa and a tankier Leo, thinking that, you know, with the Oblivion, I wasn't actually that worried about anything not being able to kill. Just would take a little longer. I think I was just worried about potentially getting procced out by one of these units. Going into the Leo a bit here, or going into the Woosa a bit here, one of my guildies notices that when I did my rerun, I accidentally put the Tessa on 5 violent and 1 will runes, which is definitely not what you want. I'd also moved the Tessa to will for this attack, since turn 1, if that Savannah defense breaks the Tessa, it's very unlikely, but it can happen, and that retargeting at the beginning could be something that bursts through your team. So we swapped that out. I go again to fish for the Oblivion on the Kinki, gets resisted, and we get the defense break. And so this is kind of that situation that I was a little bit worried about before. The Kinki goes in and gets 3 procs, and the Woosa procced as well and had the skill 2 up, and my Tessa is dead. So I think that's why you potentially want to kill that Woosa first to lower that chance. Even though I had the full Cha-Cha shield on my Tessa, and it was built for a Leo team, it was insanely tanky. You know, a set of unlucky procs there combined with me getting the defense break from the Revenge gets that Tessa taken out. And I think I try a little bit more here, but with the tank Leo, you just don't have enough damage. You're going to get infinitely sustained by this Woosa. So I end up going ahead and quitting out of this one for our first loss of the day. We're going to bounce back from that loss with a cleave. We're going to head into this Shizuka, Craka, and Savannah. I take in the Chungpung Savannah Tiana Cleave. I was actually really worried to hit this because you have two kind of comeback mechanics from this team where either you miss the kill or the reset on the Kraka and it revives. And then also potentially the Shizuka could revive or like do the Soul Protect move to bring back the Kraka for one skill. And then the Kraka revives even if you kill the Kraka. We also put a couple units on Will in case there's a Swift Savannah, but ended up, getting our RNG. We got all our pushbacks and we were able to take that kill. We're going to hit this Nana Fuuki Nora again. A similar kind of concept to what I hit it with before. This time we're going double fire wind. The idea here is that you're trying to funnel the majority of the units into the windy and hopefully just really nerf the Fuuki here by speed buff, Juno Despair, locking him down some bit, and then also just generally having 3 pretty hard to kill units. You have Rakuni with some amount of sustain, and you have the Juno with both the Nana and the Nora getting hits into it for a decent amount of sustain for the team as well. Again, this is another one that in my head felt really, really safe. In actual practice, I think there were a couple things that didn't go my way that are just worth calling out. One is that since you don't have a water tank here and you're trying to funnel onto wind, if a defense break on one of the fire units comes and they're below 70% HP, the Fuuki will actually retarget over the wind unit as long as they're just defense broken below 70%. So it's not actually that low that they have to be. And you could see in that first turn, the Fuuki actually hit my Rakuni. And then again, the Rakuni here is just not as good as the Lala. You just don't have as much healing, and the speed buff is redundant with the Windy. I just actually at the time didn't have a second Lala built, so this is what I was going with. And I asked one of my guildies to check to see if my Juno was on Despair. I think like right here, where I haven't seen a Despair stun yet. That Fuuki didn't proc at all, and hitting it first with everything up just gives it more potential to have some bio RNG and snipe one of your units. But we saw there wasn't a ton of procs from the Fuuki. We were able to kill it pretty quickly, even without the Despair stuns. And then I think at this point the Juno can 2v1 Nora and Nana just due to the debuffs and her healing interaction. But there we finally got a Despair stun, so we know that we didn't put the wrong set on a second unit. And 2v3 we are able to easily finish out this fight. We're going to go into this Theo Betta Sagar with just a Mirror Lucian. I think this variant with the Betta over the Molly is not quite as scary because it's cleavable. Yes, the Betta high base speed, there is some potential that he runs some crazy fast with Betta, but with Mirror speed lead, I'm not that worried about it. There's also always the chance that Theo procs 6 times and gets back into his immunity or invincibility, but we didn't have that and we were able to get a clean kill there. And we are going to close off this siege with one more hit into this Khmun Betta Suiki. This time we're taking a Water Twins Chloe. The call out for this team is just making sure you're running some minus water on the twins and they can't be completely paper. You want to make sure that the Suiki S2 is not making them low enough to retarget off of the Chloe. But in general, you have a fire unit with the fire and water threat that gets completely funneled into it. I think I ran a violent Chloe here just because you're not super worried about anything being that fast. And her high base speed makes it pretty easy to make sure you get that invincibility up for the first turn. And we are just going to go for the kills on this Suiki as long as I have the immunity and I'm not worried about the retarget from the defense break on a revenge. We're going to have to kill it maybe 2 or potentially even 3 times because of the revives from the Betta. But again, the main loss condition on this team is I think the Suiki AoE causing a retarget. So we get to kill that again, and now we're going to put damage into this Betta and hopefully kill the Betta before the Suiki gets rezzed again. But we're going to have the skill 3 up back here on the Chloe to provide again our immunity. So if it gets rezzed again, we're not super worried because we'll have that protection from the defense break on the Suiki. And man, this Betta is very tanky, but we get a couple of lucky procs and we're able to finish it off. And then 3v1 Water Twins are going to make short work of this Khmun. So overall, ended up going 9-1. I think that this really could have been a cool siege to show a 10-0 versus Mali. We had a little bit of a misplay and unlucky procs with that Tessa Leo team. But again, really fun siege. Excited to play with the new guild and to see what we can accomplish this season. And here is the map at the end of the siege. We ended up just 1v1ing versus Mali. You saw I did all 10 of my attacks into Mali. And we were able to take second place, beating them in the 1v1 with OC taking first. And that's all for today. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.